And today's webinar, we will talk about various options that are available for members to set the price for books on their site and how they can control what they want to and do not want to sell on their site. And this is Geeta Nathan, and joining me here today are Scott Nabbs and Ryan Quinn. And this will be a 60-minute presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we will have time for questions. During the presentation, if you have questions, feel free to type it into the question box that you see on your panel, and we will address the questions at the end of the session. So now I will hand it over to Scott, who will start the presentation with the store pricing module. Please bear with us a couple of minutes while we make the switch.
Okay. Hear me? Good. Okay. Greetings, booksellers. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, as Geeta pointed out, we're going to go over some pricing information. Now, before we get started with that, what I want to do is I want to do a simple search through the site here, just so you can see. I'm going to search for the word analytical, just so we can see some of the search results. I'm going to take a look at a couple of these so we can get a better idea of what's going on here. So I've searched for the term analytical, and that brings up a few different things. And I just wanted to show you that this is information that customers see, but I'm going to show you a little more information that you are able to see. First of all, there is an availability status for each book. Sometimes it will say special order subject to availability, and other times it will say usually ships in 1 to 5 days. It could say out of print or not yet published. We'll talk about those. So the first thing I wanted to point out, if we come down to this one here, we're just going to click on this. I just want to show you a little information that is available to you as the bookseller when you're logged in as a store administrator. Customers see all of this information, but store administrators see a little additional information. First of all, we can see down here an Ingram discount code. This code happens to be REG, which stands for Ingram's regular discount, which is 40%. This is a discount that they offer to booksellers off of the retail price. And we can also see that Ingram has some copies on hand. So when we see a book like this that Ingram has currently available on hand, it will show up as usually ships in 1 to 5 days. This is meant to convey that the book, while it may not be available directly in the store, should be available in just a few days if you wanted to order it and have it shipped to you. If we go back, we have another one here, which is special order. And if we look down here, we can see, it's all the way down at the bottom, this also is a regular discount from Ingram, but we can see that Ingram has no copies on hand. And what that means, if there is a title listed with Ingram, but it is not currently on hand, it will show up as special order, subject to availability. Again, the idea is to convey to the customer that this book may not be available. Now, we'll look into more of these different statuses in just a sec. But customers have, we've heard from stores that customers have complained when they see this information, if it says usually ships in 1 to 5 days, they don't really understand that it's not actually at the store. And customers will place orders and then they want to come down and pick it up, but it's not actually there. So the first thing I wanted to show you is that we can change this language as it appears here. And where we do that is we go to Store, Configuration, Account Information and Preferences, and then the last one here, Configure Book Availability Statuses. So we're going to take a look at different ones here. Now, the very first one says On Our Shelves Now. I'm going to leave that to my colleague Ryan, who's going to cover that a little later. But we're going to look at the rest of these, which are usually ships in 1 to 5 days. Again, if Ingram has the book in stock in one of their warehouses, we call it usually ships in 1 to 5 days. If the book is within 120 days of publication, it is listed as coming soon, available for pre-order. If the pub date is outside of 120 days, we list it as not yet published, and it does not have an add to cart button. Special order, as I said, is any book that is listed in the database but is not currently in stock with Ingram for whatever reason. And then, of course, out of print and unavailable. So I wanted to show you that we can change this information. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take something here, a little bit of HTML, and I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm really not a genius. So I'm going to paste this in here, and it has a little bit of information, HTML information that indicates size and color. So I'm going to make this a little larger, and I'm going to make it red. And then what I can do, if I grab this ISBN, we're going to go back to my home page. And if I search for this book, we can now see that this says not in store, usually ships in 1 to 5 days. It is quite readable. It's very large. It's red. Now keep in mind, this same tactic may not work on all themes. You may need to make the lettering a little smaller. Again, different themes will react differently to this to these different fields. So the field itself will hold about 128 characters. If you can fit what you want to say in there, by all means, go ahead and change that information. So this indicates that the book is not currently in our store, but it does usually ship in 1 to 5 days if you were to place an order for that. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to show you, let's take a look. We're going to look at a few other titles here. Just to show you a couple of the other things that are available. For instance, this title I wanted to show you, the discount from Ingram is net, or 0. There is a 0% discount. Therefore, if a customer sees the price of this book as $30.25, that's the same price that you're buying it from Ingram. There is no discount to the bookseller. Again, we'll get into more of that in just a sec. So there is a way that you can go through. As you can see, the information that we get from Ingram regarding price is the information that appears by default on the website. But we can change that if we want to, and there are a couple of different ways that we can do this. To affect pricing, we're going to go to Store, Configuration, and Store Pricing, and we're going to click on the tab for Books. Now, as I said, there are a couple of different things that we can do here. Keep in mind the tabs across the top go to the same place as the links down the side. So we're going to go to the first one here, which is by model, by which Drupal is referring to ISBNs. Now, we already have a couple of titles here that are listed. They're currently being discounted by 2% each. Well, no, one is being discounted, one is being marked up. Now, what we're going to do here, we're going to go to add a new ISBN, and we're going to take a look at the tool that we're going to be using. Now, this is a very simple tool. This tool is used to change the list price of a particular ISBN by a particular percentage, either up or down. So, for instance, if we grab one of our ISBNs here, grab a different ISBN here, pre-order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this ISBN in, and under percentage I'm going to put 5%. I don't want to give anybody any ideas. I'm not suggesting what sort of percentage discount or markups you should be putting on things. So I'm going to use something like 5 that probably no one would ever use. I'm going to discount this title by 5%. So I'm going to click Submit. And what happens is, in fact, I used an ISBN that was already in there. So let's grab a different one that was special. Let's try this one. Okay, we're going to go back in, add a new ISBN, drop it in, we'll do 5%, we'll do a discount, click Submit. There we go. So now I've added another title onto my list here. It is now being discounted by 5%. And if I want to edit that, I can go in and change the percentage, or I can change it to a markup, or I can delete it off of my discount list entirely. So this is a very simple way of changing the price on a particular ISBN. Keep in mind, if you have half a dozen titles that you need to adjust in this way, you will be visiting this tool half a dozen times. Each time you put in your one ISBN on its own, no dashes, no spaces, and submit it here. That will bring you back to the previous page, and if you have another ISBN to work with, you need to click on the link again. But again, overall, it's a very simple tool to use. So if we go and look at this particular title now, we can see it now lets our customer know what the original price was, what the new price is, and how much they're saving. So let's go back. And the next one that we're going to look at is a little different. This is a little broader. This is by wholesale discount code. So we're going to click here. Now there are a couple of paragraphs up here that you can read, but we're going to cover that information as we move forward here. Now you can see down here I've already taken one of my categories and I've applied a 10% markup to it. We're going to take a look at how we do that. So I'm going to click the link at the bottom, add a new wholesale discount category. Now on the final page here we have a deceptively simple looking tool. There is a drop-down list at the top. There is a percentage field, and again the discount markup radio buttons. If we take a look at the drop-down menu, what we're looking at is essentially a long list of percentages. Technically they run from 0 to 99%, but you can see that right away they're broken into two categories. There's commonly used, which is a fairly short list at the top, and then the rest which are listed as uncommon. What we're looking at here are all of the different discounts that Ingram could possibly apply to a given book. So for instance, if I were to choose the 40% category, what I'm doing is referring to all books in Ingram's catalog that they discount to me, the bookseller, by 40%. And based on that information, I may decide to mark those books up, mark them down, or leave the category alone and sell those books at their list price. Now by contrast, the net category at the top refers to all books in Ingram's catalog that they do not discount to booksellers at all. In other words, a customer sees the price as $10, I'm going to be paying Ingram $10 to get that book, and I'm going to be selling it for $10. Now, again, the list is broken into two parts, commonly used and uncommon. The ones that are commonly used are Ingram's regular discount, which is 40%, net, which is a 0% discount, low, which is a 20% discount. And then the rest of these, again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and up to 60. Again, these are fairly common for Ingram to use. Typically, well, let's back up. Theoretically, what a store would do is visit every single one of these percentage categories, and they would make this command decision. If this is the discount that I'm getting from Ingram, then here's what I'm going to do by way of my customers. Either mark that category up, mark it down, or leave it alone and sell those books at list price. Now in practice, not surprisingly, what we find is that most stores are interested in visiting the net through 20% categories. They're generally looking to mark those up a little bit. Again, these are books that they are receiving a short discount or no discount from Ingram. Therefore, they like to build in a bit of a margin on those. Okay. Now, I did want to point out that there is a category here called Reg, or regular, and there is also a 40% category. Now, the regular discount from Ingram is 40%. The issue is that generally these books are listed in Ingram's catalog as REG, or regular discount, but some of them are listed simply as 40 or 40%. Just keep in mind, if you do anything with your 40% category or your reg category, just make sure you are adjusting the other category to the same degree. Numerically, they are identical, but again, Ingram uses them in two separate instances. So to make sure you're capturing all of them, make sure you set reg and 40% to be the same. The same thing with low. Low corresponds to 20%, so if you do anything with your 20% category, make sure you adjust your low category at the same time. So in this case, I'm going to take our red category, and again, I'm just going to discount it by 5%. And here it is. We can see our red category. The percentage is 5. It is set for a discount. And again, I can edit that further, or I can delete this category off of my list and put those books back at their list price. So again, it's all very simple. Keep in mind, if you are going to be adjusting several categories, you do need to visit this tool several times. Each category, again, is entered on its own. Like that. Okay. Just so you know, if we take an entire category like reg and we discount it by a certain percentage, we can also go back to by model and we can place a higher discount on a particular ISBN. In other words, if this ISBN were part of the reg category, I can put a higher discount or a different discount on this particular book because the ISBN will override the category. Okay. Moving along to the next tab across the top here, we have net discount setting. Now, by default, when stores are brand new, this check mark is in the box and net discount titles are not available for sale. Customers can still find them, but they won't see a price and they won't see an add to cart button. Instead, by default, they'll see this tagline that says email or call for price. The idea is that we don't want a brand new site going live unwittingly selling net priced books at net price. So again, by default, the check mark is in the box and these books are unavailable for sale. The idea is that if you have gone through this previous drop-down menu and you have adjusted your net category, you are then free to come back here, remove the check mark from the box, and make those books available at their new adjusted prices. When the check mark is out of the box, this message does not display, so you don't need to worry about it. Some stores will sell net discount books without actually marking them up. To them, it's a form of customer service. They're happy to provide it. They don't get a lot of orders for these books, and they're happy to do this. They're assuming customers will come back. Other stores are situated in college towns, and they work with a lot of textbooks and university presses, and there's no way they would operate this way. They will generally mark up their net discount category and, again, make those books available for sale. There are a few stores that don't like to deal with net discount titles at all. They will leave the check mark in the box and they will change the message to say something like, this book is never available from our site, and they will leave it at that. So again, it all comes down to how you as a store prefer to deal with net discount titles. Now the last thing that we're going to look at here is going to be not for sale. Now, stores had asked us on a number of occasions in the past, is there any way that we can pull certain titles out of our website? It may not be appropriate to pull them from the entire database, but we would like them to not appear or be available for sale on our store. So we came up with this little tool, and what this does is it allows you to compile a list of ISBNs in a notepad or .txt file. Basically, it is a list of ISBNs, each ISBN on its own line, no dashes, no spaces. When you upload that file here, choose File and Upload, our system will process that file, and generally by the next day or within about 12 hours or so, those titles will no longer be available for sale. So, for instance, I'll grab a title here. Just to show you.
You can have the actor.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to drop our ISBN in here. We'll take a look, and you can see that this is a book. It says not in store, usually ships in 1 to 5 days. But here's the add to cart button and the price on it. But if we upload the file, if we were to, oops, let's go back here. If we were to upload the file here, select it off of my desktop and put it up, then again the system will process that generally overnight. I think it's twice a day that we process those files, and those books will no longer be available for sale. So, for instance, if we're doing it right here, won't do this. And this is what your customer will see instead. The exact same book, but this item is not available for sale on this site. And there you go. So again, the idea is, let's go back and take a look. The idea is that you're going to keep an open notepad file on your desktop, and you're going to keep adding ISBNs into it. So keep in mind, if you were to upload a file today with 10 ISBNs in it, then tomorrow you have one more ISBN that you want to exclude. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your original file of 10, you're going to add the 11th ISBN to the end of it, and you're going to save it, and you're going to upload your new file, the new list of 11. Basically, every file that you upload is going to overwrite the last file that you uploaded. So again, just keep an open file, just keep adding ISBNs into it. Every time you have a few new ones, save it and upload it here, and you're done. And those books, again, will be no longer made available for sale. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to the next part of our discussion, and my colleague Ryan is going to take over, and she's going to talk a little bit about inventory upload. So stay tuned.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As Scott mentioned, I am going to go over LSI, which is local store inventory. And what does that mean? Well, as Scott showed you, if you search for a book, and I'm going to search for one called Over the Moon, then it's going to give you the stock status of that book. So here's one, and it's saying, let's pick a different one. Okay, so Over the Moon, and its status is currently special order subject to availability. But what if you really had this book in your store on the shelf? You would clearly want your customers to know that. So when you come to Store Configuration, Account Information and Preferences, and Configure Book Availability Statuses, you have that first status that Scott had skipped over before, on our shelf now. And the way you get that to display on a specific book is by using local store inventory. Local store inventory is just a way of uploading what's local in your store and available for a customer immediately. To find that setting, you go to Store, Configuration, Local Store Inventory, and if you don't see this in your menu, just send us an email and let us know that you'd like it enabled, because it is only enabled by request. And once you're here, you're on the Local Store Inventory admin page. So we give you some details about what the file has to contain. We allow two file types. One, ISBN, price, quantity, and location. The other, ISBN, quantity, price, location. And we have some important notes about the format. So you're definitely going to want to review these before putting your file together. But most importantly, take note that it can only be a text file or CSV, and that each field must be separated by commas, tabs, or pipe symbols. So here's an example of a file I've put together. You'll see I have my ISBN. It's separated by a pipe to the price, again separated to the quantity, and then I'm giving the location of where it is in my store. When you're ready to upload a file, you come here, and for most of you that have never done this before, your last upload date will say never. You will select to browse your file locally from your machine, select it, and click the Submit button. You'll want to pay attention and make sure that you see this green message that says your file was received successfully. Thank you. Please allow up to 4 hours for processing. We process LSI files every 4 hours starting at midnight. So if you upload a file at 8 a.m., the nearest time we're going to process it is 9 a.m. and then we'll process again at 1 p.m. and so on. What does your LSI look like once it's uploaded? Well, if we come to the search field again, we go to home, and I'm going to search for an ISBN that I know was included in my file. And so here it is. It now says on our shelves now. It's telling me I have 17 on hand because that's what I included in my file. When that is accurate too, which would be yesterday, as that's the last time I uploaded it. And it's even giving my price information. So the list price on this was $17.99, but because in my inventory file I priced it at $15, it's going to display that and what the savings is. So that's the first way of uploading your LSI. That's the manual process. It's the easiest. You have another option, which is going through above the tree line. For above the tree line, it is an automated process. So you simply let above the tree line know that you would like to provide us your LSI file or your local store inventory file. They in turn do some management on their end to be able to pull that from your POS, and then they go ahead and let us know so that we can begin picking it up from them. That's a very simple process that's automated and just requires some setup work ahead of time. So if you're already working with above the tree line, it's something you'll definitely want to consider. The last option is to provide us with your LSI file via FTP. And what that means is that we give you special FTP access that you can then upload your file manually multiple times a day. And if you'd like, you can work between yourself and your POS system to automate the process so that it gets sent directly via FTP, automated a few times a day. Keep in mind though, we'll still only be picking that up every 4 hours. If you're a store who has multiple outlets, then you will be uploading multiple files. One file for each outlet, and that's going to look a little different than when your inventory is displayed. So I'm going to switch over here to the Tattered Cover website, who has multiple outlets and is uploading a local store inventory file for each one. And you'll see that it breaks it down. So for their Aspen Grove location, it shows what they have on hand. Then it moves down to their Lodo location and all the way to their Colfax. And that would happen for as many outlets as you upload your inventory file for. Okay. Along with the inventory, there are some settings that are important and that go with it. And to locate that, you go back to your admin menu, and it is Store, Configuration, Local Store Inventory, LSI Settings. The first one is Fulfillment Cascade Priority, and this allows you to set your store's inventory as the priority, the first in fulfillment. So if instead of checking Ingram's stock first, the website will look at your stock first and opt to fill it from the store before it fills it from Ingram. This is especially important for those of you that allow your orders to be sent to Ingram without stopping at your order point to be checked first. The next is the Override LSI Pricing. And what this does is it allows you to say you want the pricing entered into your inventory file to be ignored. So for this instance, I have a $5.99 price entered for this title. And if I show this to you, that's what you're going to see. 1 second. So right now you see my price is at $5.99 because that's what I included in my inventory file. But I'm going to go ahead and enable the Web Discounts Override Inventory Pricing. And now that price is going to be ignored. Instead of displaying it at $5.99, it's defaulting it back to $7.99. This is really great to remember if you're offering a sale. Maybe over the weekend you're going to offer, a 30% sale or anything of the like. And instead of having to upload a separate inventory file, you can just enter it into your web discounts and then enable that setting. Okay. The next option is use LSI availability. And what that means is that your products in your local inventory can be for sale, even if they are not available from Ingram. So by default, this is enabled. You most likely won't disenable it. The last option is to hide quantity on hand for LSI. What this means is that when it's not enabled, you are showing the quantity you have on hand. So in this case, I see that I have 9 on hand in my store. But keep in mind that at the most, you're only updating your inventory every 4 hours here. So it's possible you might sell these 9 on hand before your inventory updates on your website. With that in mind, you have the ability to hide the quantity. So you can save this. And now when I look at it, it's going to tell me that it's still on the shelf, but it doesn't have a quantity anymore. So those are all things you want to keep in mind for when you're using your local store inventory module. And I am now going to pass this back to Scott, who's going to go over some store preferences with you.
Bill, that do touch on inventory and pricing. So we're going to take a quick look at those. You will find these under Store, Configuration, Account Information and Preferences, and Store Preferences. So we're going to go through a couple of these. First of all, at the very top, Wholesaler Fulfilled. If this box is checked, it means that orders will be sent automatically to Ingram whenever possible. Whenever we think Ingram can fill a particular order, we'll send it to them. By turning this off and taking the check mark out of the box, orders will not automatically be sent to the wholesaler. However, any order that is eligible will still have a big button at the top that says Send to Wholesaler. So you'll still be able to do this on a case-by-case basis. But a lot of stores like to have this control, so they tend to turn this off. Short discount. Short discount refers to books that carry less of a discount than 35% from Ingram. Stores often feel that they can get a better price either from the publisher or from another distributor, so they prefer that these orders containing these books are not sent to Ingram. Again, you can check that or not check it. Most stores, I think, leave it unchecked just in case. Again, stores tend to have the ability to send order by order over to Ingram if they decide. Special order, as we discussed, special order means anything, any book that is listed in Ingram's catalog but is not currently in stock with them. It might be back ordered for a few days, it might be OSI at the publisher, it might be on its way to out of print. Nevertheless, if it is listed with Ingram and not currently in stock, we will list it as special order. If you put the check mark in here, those books will be shown to a customer if they conduct a search, but again, they will not have an add to cart button on them. Again, keep in mind, it's an all or nothing feature. We have not yet published. Again, as we mentioned earlier, not yet published means the book has a publication date that is outside of 120 days from today. And they do not include a price or an add to cart button. We tend to feel that this information is too far out to be reliable. Nevertheless, some stores want to make those books available for pre-order, so you can click this box here, and all of those books that are not yet published will display the Add to Cart button. And let's see, I think that was all we had to cover. Okay, so I'm going to hand the presentation back over to my colleague Geetha, who will give us a little more information. Hang on just a moment.
Okay, this is Geeta here. I see that a lot of you have submitted some questions, but before we go to the questions, I just wanted to share a few more details about what we discussed today. One is about the LSI. Ryan mentioned the three ways that we can process LSI, local store inventory. One is uploading them directly from the admin page. The second option is to use above the tree line, and the third option is to use FTP. There are advantages and I wouldn't say disadvantages, but for all the three options. And we do have stores using each one of those. Of course, majority of the stores use above the tree line, but we have a number of members using the admin page, and we also have a few who are doing it the LSI via FTP. The admin page advantage is it gives you full control over the files that you upload, and you can upload files as many times as you want. But the disadvantage is it is a manual process. And for the above the tree line, once you work with above the tree line and they work with us, everything is set. There is no need for any extra effort on your part. It is automated. Above the tree line will pull the file from your POS, and we will get the files from above the tree line. So it's only the initial setup, and then there is nothing more to do on your end. But the one restriction there is, I believe above the tree line pulls files from your POS only once a day. But we do check above the tree line several times during the day. But if above the tree line is using it only once a day, then that's the only update that we can get. The third option, which is FTP, uploading LSI via FTP. That kind of combines both option 1 and 2. It gives you the flexibility of option 1, the admin console, and it gives you the automation that you can have with above the tree line. But the only thing is that there is some extra work that needs to be done on your end to have it set up. The work has to be done on your end. Make sure that you're able to connect to our FTP server and have the files uploaded to our FTP server. Automate the process, and we can accept files as many times as you upload them. We do have a couple of POS vendors who have been able to work with our members to automate this on their end. And if you are interested in trying this approach, please write to us, and maybe the same POS that you're using, and there is already a member using that who has already done the work. So we can share that information and make it faster for you. And regarding the pricing, there are three ways that you can set the pricing for a title. One, using the store pricing rule by the wholesaler discount code. Second is store pricing rule using the model or the ISBN. And third is the local store inventory. The way our system works is, first it's going to check the LSI. If you have an ISBN uploaded via LSI and a price attached to it, we will not look further. Our system will not look further. It will go with that LSI price, unless, of course, you have opted to override LSI with web discounts. By default, when our system finds a price with the LSI, it stops right there. That's the price it's going to use. But if an ISBN is not in the LSI, then it goes to the store pricing tool and it checks for any rules attached to the ISBN. If there is a rule attached to the ISBN, then it takes that. And if both these conditions are not there, then it looks for the wholesaler discount code rule. And if there is a store pricing rule based on the wholesaler discount code, then the system takes that into consideration. So I think it's important to know the steps that our system takes to determine the final price for your book that is going to be displayed on your website. Yeah, I think that kind of covers everything that we wanted to discuss today. And right now, let's switch to the questions. Let me pull up the questions here. Okay, let's go in order. When you put on a markup, does the customer see that you have marked up for the SRP? No. we do not show the markup. The comparison and the language that says that you are receiving a discount shows up only if there is a discount, not if there is a markup. If there is a markup, it just shows the marked up price. That's it. When a book is categorized as not for sale, a customer can still find the book on our website, but it just says it can't be ordered or whatever, correct? Yes, that is correct. Customers can still find the book on your site. They can find it by search, or they can find the book by ISBN. But on the product page, it'll display the message that you have chosen to display. I think Scott mentioned that there is a place where you can set the language that appears for not for sale. It's under stored configuration, stored pricing, books, and not for sale. What you enter here in this field is what will show up on the page. And the add to cart button will be removed, and the customers will see this message. Can you give us contact email at above the tree line to set up the automated process? Yes, we can. Carol, we have made a note of that, and we soon after this webinar, we will follow up. We'll send you an email with all the necessary information. The next one, I'm assuming if we use above the tree line, the inventory quantities will change automatically each day for LSI titles. Yes. The way it works is above the tree line will pull the files from your POS, and so they will have the latest information, and we get it from above the tree line. So we will get whatever above the tree line was able to retrieve from your POS. So that will change every day, both the quantity and the price. It'll change every day depending on what is in your POS system. If we have inventory records where web pricing is incorrect for whatever reason, is it better to check the override the LSI pricing? First, we would like to know, I think it's better to figure out why the web pricing is incorrect. Carol, if you don't mind, I can unmute your microphone so that you can explain your question. Just give me 1 second. Yes, Carol, I think your microphone is unmuted. Would you like to clarify that question? Why would the web pricing be incorrect on your website?
No, I'm actually not sure why there are, but I've just noticed that there are plenty of inventory records where the web price is 0 and the retail, everything else is in there. But maybe when it was brought into inventory for the first time, whoever did that change, left it as 0, marked it as 0 for whatever reason, not realizing what that would do. And so I have noticed that there are, random prices that are where the web price is 0, and I want to make sure that those don't show up as 0 on the website. And I basically sell everything at retail with I just changed a few of the things to mark up on short discounts. So it seems like it makes sense to me that I would want to check the box to override LSI pricing just to make sure that I'm not going to have these weird ones that show up as 0 every now and then.
Yes, just another clarification. So when the web price shows up as 0, are these like prices that were uploaded from your end at some point, or are these prices that show up for regular Ingram titles?
This would be in my inventory system in Anthology,
okay,
where you enter, like you look up a book for the first time and it imports the information into your system. You have a moment there where you can adjust pricing and adjust sections and before you save it. And there have been times, it looks like to me, where during that process the web price got marked at 0.
Okay.
And
understood. But you should note that when you override the LSI pricing with web discounts, it is an all or nothing rule. That means it's going to override the LSI pricing for every title that you upload with the web discounts. If that is not what you want to do, I think we can maybe provide you with the titles that are added with the $0 on your website that came from a previous LSI. And if that would help, then we can do that. And maybe you can only fix those on your end.
Oh, that would be a super helpful thing.
Okay, we will follow up with that, and we will send you the list of all the ISBNs that were uploaded from your site and anything that has a $0 attached to it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
That would be great. Thanks.
Okay, so the next one. If books are out of stock at Ingram but are on order at Ingram, and we disable purchasing of special order books, would such books be non-orderable? Yes, that is correct. Those books would show up on your website as special order. And if you go to the store preferences page and disable special order books, then those books will not have the add to cart button from your site. Sally, just to make sure that I answered your question right, or if you had any follow-up, I'm going to unmute your microphone so you can clarify.
Yeah, there are a lot of books that are never going to come in stock, and I would like to not have those be orderable, but quite often there's a book that they're just out of stock on, but it's going to be back in a week, and so then I would probably have to choose not to choose that button because it's an all or nothing.
Okay, so there are some special order books that you would like to sell through your website, and there are some you do not want to sell through your website.
It's not that they're special order books. I'm saying if there's a book like When Breath Becomes Air that's very popular, but all of a sudden it's out of stock at all of the Ingram warehouses.
Okay.
So it shows out of stock. Then if I click that button, then that book is no longer orderable.
If we are talking about limited number of ISBNs, would the not for sale feature help you there?
Not really, because I don't want to have to go in and every book that's that's like almost impossible to get. I don't want to have to go in and enter ISBNs for each one of those. So because what I would like is if it was on order at Ingram with an in-stock date, that it would still show up as orderable. But it sounds like that's too much to ask.
We will look into that. We will look into that and see if there is something that we can use that we get from Ingram. In the Ingram data that we get, maybe they have a field where we can check whether it is on order.
With an in-stock date.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's not possible right now, but we will look into it and we will get back to you on that.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Next one. When using local store inventory, once the book is sold out, it's not being restocked. Can it be set back to the standard stock status usually ships in 3 to 5 days? Yes, you can. What you have to do the next time you upload the file, if that ISBN is not included as part of your LSI file, the next time you upload, it gets eventually removed from your LSI status and it goes to usually ships in 3 to 5 days. Stacy, you're unmuted. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's exactly what I need to know. Thank you.
Okay. Next one. Are we able to adjust IndieCommerce bestsellers block to default to nonfiction first? Right now, no, the bestsellers block is like a complete module that cannot be adjusted. But we will take that into consideration when we redo. It is on our list to redo the bestsellers and the Indie Next List blocks because right now the blocks that we offer are not responsive and they don't work very well on a lot of IndieCommerce sites. They don't look good on a lot of IndieCommerce sites. So one of our projects we have for this year is to redo those 2 blocks, and we will take this suggestion into consideration then. If we add LSI titles, are they searchable? Book titles are searchable, however they appear on the website. And if you want your LSI titles to show up at the top of your search results page, you can do that. There is something called the search weights where you can adjust that so the LSI titles show up on the top of the search results page. Having said that, it is always, we say that to use that tool with caution, because when you rearrange the weights, sometimes what works for one particular title can mess up the search results for other titles. We do offer access to stores to use the search weights, but also we want them to be careful about how you change. But it is possible. You can have the LSI titles move up to the top of the search results page. Does that answer your question, Sally?
It does. It's not my understanding was that if we added a title that is not in the Ingram database, that we could link to it, but that it couldn't be searched for. If somebody came in and just looked up the author or the title, the book wouldn't come up. But so I'm wrong in that.
No, actually you are correct, because anything that you upload using LSI, we only process the titles that are available at Ingram, because the LSI is supposed to add to what we get from Ingram. So if you upload a title, an ISBN that we do not have information from Ingram on, then that title will be dropped out of your LSI processing.
So if I have a locally published book that Ingram doesn't distribute,
yep,
that's not an LSI. That's just an adding that as a separate product, and it's not searchable on their website.
Are you adding it through the Add a Book feature on indiebound.org?
I'm not adding it at all right now because I didn't think it was searchable, so it seemed pointless to add books if you can't look for them.
Okay. We are going to confirm that, and we will get back to you. There are various ways to add books that are not available through Ingram. One is you can create them as a custom product on your website.
Right.
That way, only customers coming to your website can purchase it, and those can be returned in a search results. And the other app, if you add them as custom products, they can be. There is a search configuration where you can choose what items should be included into search, and as long as that custom product is included in search, it will appear in the search results.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and are we able to show availability of a book that I add on my own? It's searchable but does not show quantity. Okay. Sally, you are, sorry, that's not Sally's question. Sorry, apologize. Daphne. I'm going to unmute Daphne. Okay. So when you say that showing availability of a book that I add on my own, so are you creating them as custom products on your website? Daphne, you're unmuted. You can speak to. So so this is a book that you are adding to your website as a custom product, and you want to show the quantity. Yes, there is a way to do it. We have another module called the stock module. The stock module can be used for adding quantity for any custom product that you create on your website. It adds another tab to the product page. So there you can go into the tab and add the quantity that you have at your store. And as customers start purchasing that book, the quantity decreases. And also the stock module has a feature where you can set up an email, a threshold, and the system will email you saying that, okay, there are 2 left. And when the quantity reaches 0, then the customers will not see the add to cart button. So you won't get any more orders when the quantity reaches 0. So using the stock module, it is possible to add quantity to custom products. And we have made a note of it, and we will enable the module and send you the instructions. Yeah, I think that's all we have for questions today. If anyone has more questions, you can type it in. And just a reminder before we end this webinar has been recorded, and the webinar recording will be available on the IndieCommerce Webinar Center. And if you haven't visited this please go to bookweb.org. And we have a whole section for the Help Center, that is the IndieCommerce Help Center, and also the IndieCommerce Webinar Center. It's under e-commerce and ebooks, IndieCommerce, and you have the Help Center, which has documentations on a whole variety of topics. And all the topics that were discussed today, you will be able to find the documentation here. And this is the Webinar Center. The recording will be posted here by the end of this week. And also starting this week, we have slightly changed the webinar formats. One week we will have a topic-specific webinar, and the following week, the same day and time, we will have an open session. So we thought that this would give our members some time to go back, go through the webinar videos, documentations, and if you have any questions on the topics that we discussed today or any other topic, we will be available next week during the webinar time as an open Q&A session. And we have received a lot of requests for new webinar topics. And if you have a topic that you would like to be included in the webinar, please feel free to write to us. We are always open to suggestions because we want the webinars to help as many students as possible. So we want to spend this time and do the webinar on topics that you request. So feel free to write to us on any topic that you want to have a webinar, anything to do with IndieCommerce, we will be happy to accommodate it. And moving forward, you will see all notifications about webinars in the Indie Communication on the Message Center. We highly recommend that you visit the Message Center often. Any updates will show up there. And also on bookweb.org, we will post that information on Message Center. There, we are going to create a page on bookweb.org, which will list all our future webinars. As we decide on the topics and the date, we will post them there with the timings and the link to register. Topic-specific webinars need registration, but the open format Q&A sessions do not need registration. We will post the link, and you can use the link, and you can join those webinars anytime within that 60-minute period. Okay, I think we are done with all the questions for today. And if you have any questions, as always, you can write to us at staff@bookweb.org. And this brings us to the end of today's webinar. And thank you all for attending. And we hope to see you all in future webinars. Thank you.